Hello, my name is Joshua Mugabe. I welcome you to Feeding in Mosquitoes. Only the female mosquitoes has the piercing and sucking mouth parts. So it is the female mosquito that has got the piercing and sucking mouth parts. The male feeds on plant juice such as nectar. So the male mosquitoes, they do not have the piercing mouth parts because for them they feed on plant juice such as nectar. The piercing and sucking mouth parts fit together and are enclosed in a flexible lambium. So we have this part here. All of this one is the piercing and sucking mouth part when it is open, and here when it has come together and it is enclosed in a flexible lambium. So if we look at them, we shall see we have the part here. This part that we are seeing outside here, this is the outer cover, which we call the lambium when it is open. Now, when you look at it here, all this outer part here that you are seeing, which is hairy and going like that, all that one is what we are referring to as the lambium. The lambium is that outer cover which covers all the other mouth parts. Now you have the piercing stylets. We have the piercing stylets. If you look here, this part here and this part here, all those are piercing stylets. They are the piercing stylets, and when they come up here, it is this part here up and this one, this side here. Those are the piercing stylets. And also have this small part that we are seeing here. This one also coming down all the way. That one is also a piercing stylet. And we have it also this side here. That one is also a piercing stylet. Then we have the food tube. The food tube is this part that we are seeing in the middle here. That is the food tube. Now for the food tube is the one which is the sucking mouth part, which we have here. This one is our sucking mouth part, which is the food tube. Now when you look this side, we have what we are calling the salivary duct, where saliva passes. This tube here behind, that is the salivary duct. Now this side, this small tube that you are seeing here in the middle, that is the salivary duct. So when the whole thing is open, this is how it looks like when it is open. The lambium outside, and then the piercing and sucking mouth parts are going to be inside. Now when they are folded, all of them together, when they are folded, this is what you're going to see, all of them, the piercing stylets on the outside, the lambium is the outer part covering all of them inside, and then we have the tube, food tube or the sucking mouth part, and the salivary duct, all of them, they are covered inside the lambium. The female feeds on blood meal before laying eggs. It aligns on the skin of the host animal, especially humans, and it pushes her mouth part through the skin to reach the capillary. So it will align itself horizontally on the skin, and then it will pierce the skin using its mouth parts so that it can reach the capillaries underneath the skin, and it will suck the blood. The blood is then sucked up through a tubular mouth part. So here we are seeing that our piercing stylet pierces the skin and it reaches the blood capillary. Then blood is going to be sucked upwards, and when blood is sucked upwards through the stylet, then it will be taken into the gut. But we are seeing here that the labium, which is the outer cover of the mouth part, is bent because for it does not enter into the skin. It is just a cover. But the stylet, it is the one that pierces the skin, and when it enters into the skin, then we have the food tube and the salivary tube. The salivary tube will release the saliva into the blood capillary so that the blood capillaries blood does not clot, and then the food tube will absorb the blood from the blood capillary into the gut. The saliva stops the blood from clotting. So we have seen it is releasing the saliva, and that saliva is going to stop the blood from clotting. The mosquitoes of the genus Anopheles, these ones, they transmit malaria. Malaria is caused by a malarial a single-celled organism that feeds and reproduces in the red blood cells. So when the mosquito pierces the skin, if it pierces the skin, it goes and feeds on the blood which is moving in the blood capillaries. And in that process, it will release saliva. When it releases the saliva into the blood capillary, the saliva prevents the blood from clotting. And that saliva which is released into the blood is the one that contains the malarial parasites. And those malarial parasites will go into the red blood cells, and then they will reproduce in the red blood cells. When a female mosquito sucks blood from an infected person, the malarial parasites reproduce in her body. So if our mosquito here has sucked the malarial parasites and they have entered into her body, those malarial parasites are going to reproduce inside the mosquito's body. And then they will find their way to the salivary gland. When they are inside the mosquito, after reproducing, then now they will find their way back into the salivary glands. And when now they come into the salivary glands, that's where they will be released from to another person. The next person to be bitten will therefore be injected with the saliva carrying the parasite. So we have seen that the parasite has developed inside the mosquito and now it is kept into the salivary gland. So when the mosquito pierces another individual, now this malarial parasite will be injected into the blood of a healthy person, and it will pass over the malarial parasite into the blood of a healthy person via the saliva. Thank you very much for attending to Feeding in Mosquitoes. Please do like, share, and subscribe.